Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this live coach group workout, our to the limit session. This is week 6 in the 10-part series, so excuse me, we're starting to get into the meaty stuff now. Don't let that worry you though if this is your first session. It should be pretty manageable, and there's always ways that you can adjust the resistance to make it a touch kind of more in keeping with where you're at. Talk about all that in a second, but just firstly, my name is Rich. I'm your coach, your RIAK coach for this session, and we're about to get started in about 10 seconds. So we've got the rubber banding effect on for this, otherwise Borrego Springs, the course we've got, can be a little bit kind of dull, but we've chosen a pan flat course as we set off. Chosen a pan flat course because we are going to be working out of erg mode after the warm-up. Now, if you're not familiar with what that is, it's a setting on smart trainers and smart bikes where basically it kind of controls the resistance for you, and you just kind of have to pedal, and it will basically allow you to hit a constant power. Okay. If you're interested in that, going into more depth as to what erg mode is and how you can use it and when not to use it, we have got an article on our website called "To Erg or Not to Erg." Slightly overly dramatized title, but there you go. So yeah, that will tell you a bit more about erg mode. But yes, probably the most important thing you want to know is how do you turn it off. And you don't need to do this now, this is just for reference after we've done the warm-up. To turn it off, if you've got a smart trainer or a smart bike, you have to go to the sensors menu. Let's see if I can do this. So you go to the sensors menu down here. Ooh, don't want to end ride. And in the top right hand corner, you've got a use erg mode tab at the top right, and when I prompt you, not now, I prompt you to turn that off. Okay, I'm going to keep it on because I've got to ride at a very consistent level so I can talk basically, but I will be prompting you to turn it off. And basically what that means is your trainer will stop trying to help you hit the power targets, and it will just start to replicate the course, which, as I say, is flat. Now, there's a specific purpose why we're doing this, and we often do this in sessions, so it's very much worthwhile knowing how to do it, because we do it pretty regularly. So the reason we're doing it, guys, is because this session, it's got a very specific purpose behind it. So we've got 3 kind of blocks of intervals. The longer one is kind of sweet spot tempo effort. It's about 85% of FTP, and it's quite long. And then you're cranking up to just above threshold to 105% of FTP. Okay, and kind of that, one of the challenges we want to throw down to you is, can you shift quite dramatically? You know, that's what 15, 20% increase in power. Can you do that without going into the red, without having to, like, out the saddle, really drive it on like that sort of situation? What we're trying to teach you with this session is kind of increasing your power steadily and building into an effort and conserving a little bit of energy that way. All right, which is important when it comes to races. I think the instinct is, when somebody pushes on or makes a break, the instinct is, oh, I must close them down as fast as possible. Whereas actually, you think about it sometimes, they're now pushing the wind themselves. They're away from the bunch, so they're probably working very hard. Actually, you'd probably be better suited kind of leaving them hanging out there a little bit and just sort of bring them back steadily and ride within yourself. Obviously, that's totally context specific, so you may well just have to close them down. They might be an absolute weapon and you can't let them get away. But what we're looking to do is try and step up our power without going into the red, and basically kind of build a bit more steadily and a bit more calmly, and as far as possible as well, use our cadence to lift the power. Rather than having to drop into a big heavy gear to lift it, what we're hoping to do is just use our cadence a little bit, pick up the leg speed as far as, and that will get us some of the way, and then we might have to drop a big heavy gear in, okay? Because I think often the temptation is, again, if someone goes ahead of you, makes a break, temptation is to slam into that heavy gear and kind of really go for it. And that might be great for the first 5 pedal strokes, but then after that you're sat in a big heavy gear which is going to wear you down quickly. All right, so that's kind of what we're on in this session. A bit more to it. So far in the series we've kind of been purely kind of conditioning focused, sat in erg mode, just kind of going for it. Now we're trying to lend a little bit more to the session. Okay, so now though guys, just chill out. You know, we've got this 10-minute warm-up. Every 2 minutes we're going to build the effort by about 6 to 10 watts. Sorry, just had to adjust something. Yeah, on the warm-up then we've got the 3 fast pedaling efforts, and it's after that final fast pedaling effort I'm going to prompt you to turn erg mode off. Okay, you're going to have to do it relatively quickly. Hopefully me showing you earlier, just go to the menu, sensors menu, and turn that erg tab off. It then takes about 15 seconds or so to kind of adjust properly, and then you'll be responsible for using your own gearing as if you were riding this course in real life, and obviously hitting the power targets yourself. Okay, you don't have erg mode as that helping hand. Okay, so that's what we're up to. If you're interested in quantifying your training, use platforms like Training Peaks. It's a big set, so we're at 69 TSS for this session. Okay, so we're edging towards that 70 TSS mark, which basically means big. Okay, and we will get there and surpass that as we progress through this series. Okay, because this is a progressive series, not huge lifts in intensity or kind of training load, usually sort of 1, maybe 2 TSS max lift between each one. Okay, so this should not be a big difference from the last session we did. Okay, so still relaxing. In terms of cadence, we'd like you upwards of 85 RPM now. Okay, spinning up, hopefully nice and comfortable, perhaps getting a bit of a sweat on, bit breathing a little bit more heavily, but otherwise nice and relaxed. Keep the fluids coming aboard. The warm-up is always a good opportunity to kind of get fluids on. Hopefully you're hydrated before the session. Definitely want to kind of keep that going. Okay, so just going a bit more depth into the intervals. Let me just get the session plan up. So you have got 3 blocks that are exactly the same. Okay, 7 minutes at about 85% is the longer sector, and then you're kicking up to supra-threshold, so about 105% of FTP for 4 minutes. So ultimately it's an 11-minute effort, kind of either just below or just above your FTP. Okay, you're then going to have a lovely 3 minutes of pure spinning, pure recovery in between the efforts. Okay, so we're very much kind of steady state time trial mode type situation. So if you are a time trialist or a triathlete, then I do encourage you, particularly in that tempo, in that sort of tempo sweet spot section, the longer one, to spend as much time as you can in an aero position, so down the drops, on the aero bars, or lying on top of the base bar like that. So I do encourage you to do that as much as you can. It's always good to build a bit of stamina in your lower back and get used to producing power, because when you close that hip angle, it does make it harder to produce power. Okay, so you need to adapt. So we've just got over a minute before we hit those fast pedaling efforts. Unusual drill with the fast pedaling efforts. So first one, look to get to around 100 RPM. Second one, 110. And then the third one, really spinning up, kind of hitting 120 RPM. And it's a little reminder to relax when you're doing them, okay? So soft, draw the shoulders away from the elbows, soften the elbows, really spin up the legs, and avoid kind of bouncing up and down, okay? This is all about getting the fast twitch muscle fibers going, raising the heart rate a bit, and just generally kind of getting you going. So 20 seconds and then we start to get a bit more focus, get a bit on it. Okay, starting with that first fast pedaling effort. So get ready to go, guys. Nearly time to get your game face on. 3 seconds, here we go. Ready? Okay, let's spin those legs up. So looking for around 100 RPM. You can ignore the target in the session. Looking for 100 RPM. Start there and we'll build. But as I say, keeping relaxed in the upper body, trying to avoid bouncing up and down, keeping that bum well planted. Make sure you're sitting up towards the back of the saddle, keeping the bum planted and spinning up those legs. Get ready to go. Okay, that's the first one down and relax. Spinning back down to around 65% of FTP. So cruising level before we hit round 2 in about just over 45 seconds. Okay, stay steady, nice and calm. 30 seconds, then we hit round 2. So get ready to rev the legs up again. Few seconds, ready. Looking for 110 RPM this time, so you can stick to the cadence target, going up to around 85% of FTP. So this is where we're going to be working for that longer sector and intervals. Okay, so a bit of a sighter as the level of effort. We're looking for 110 RPM, shoulders relaxed, bum planted, spinning up. Last 5. And relax. Okay, good, good. Relax. So we've got one more fast pedaling effort, and then immediately after this, I'm going to prompt you to turn erg mode off. Okay. So you need to be Johnny on the spot. So just remember how you do that. You go to the menu on RGT. You go to the sensors menu, and in the top right hand corner, turn that erg tab off. This is if you've got a smart trainer or a smart okay. If you're on a kind of non-smart trainer or power meter non-smart trainer setup, you don't need to worry about it. Okay, the erg mode is already off for you permanently. It's just if you've got a smart trainer. Right guys, so this final fast pedaling effort, we're going to rev it right up to 120 RPM, and then we're going to turn erg mode off afterwards. Okay, 2, 1, here we go. Okay. Really rev them up now, guys. Last opportunity to wake up those fast twitch muscle fibers and just generally get your legs switched on. Keep it going, rev them up. 10 seconds. Last few, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Okay, so let's start getting that erg mode turned off. So you're going to go to the menu, go down to sensors, don't end the ride by accident like I almost did earlier, and then that top right hand corner is that use erg mode. You're going to turn that off. Okay, this is if you've got a smart trainer, remember. And then it takes about 15 seconds or so for it to kind of disengage, and then it will start to simulate the course, the gradient, the topography, and you'll be responsible for finding the right gear. Okay, so get that done. We've got 20 seconds, and then we're going to get up to 85% of FTP. So this first effort is kind of a strong effort. Should feel like a 6/7 out of 10 effort when we get there. All right, it's on the cusp, getting towards the top end of zone 3 if you use your training zones. Here we go then. Right, so up we go. 6/7 out of 10 effort, 85% of FTP. We're here for 7 minutes. This should feel strong, but it shouldn't feel hard. Okay, you shouldn't be busting the gut. You want to be able to ride nice and steady. And just remember, if you're a time trialist or a triathlete, try and spend as much time in the aero position as possible. Train that lower back. And then guys, in terms of cadence, want your leg speed upwards of 90 RPM. Okay, we want to be spinning this out really nice and relaxed. Okay, time trial mode basically. So there you go. Coming up towards the end of the first minute. Now we're just going to relax here, guys, for 6 minutes before we then crank it up to above threshold. Now just remember, the point of the session is to see, can you lift up to that 105% of FTP target when we get there without going into the red, without going beyond that 105% power target, building into it and basically getting there as smoothly and efficiently as possible. First, using an increased leg speed within the same gear, seeing how far that can get you, and then only once you've exhausted that do you then drop into a heavier gear. Okay, these are all kind of good, useful things if you do any kind of e-racing or bike racing. It's always good to exhaust your leg speed before hitting into a big gear. The reason for this is, if you think about it, if you stay within the same gear and just lift your cadence, you can pick up your power, but you're putting out less power per pedal stroke in order to hit that kind of 3-second smoothing that power meters tend to have set. You can change it to 5 seconds or even 10 seconds in some instances. Basically what that is a rolling average of your power, so that it's not just constantly spiking, so it's intelligible basically. But what you can do is hit that average power by putting out that rolling average power by lifting your leg speed and just putting out less power per pedal stroke to get there. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll put it another way. If you hit into a big heavy gear and your cadence slows right down, to hit that power target with that 3-second smoothing, you're having to put out more power per pedal stroke, okay, in order to hit it, which basically means you're going to tire faster. All right, you're using more, you're leaning on your fast twitch muscle fibers more, you're using more of your anaerobic system to power those individual pedal strokes. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, it does in my mind. Not the easiest thing to articulate. Maybe just take my word for it. Okay, so nice and relaxed now. 6 or a 7 out of 10. Cadence wise, probably want to be upwards of 90 RPM. And as I said earlier, time trialists and triathletes, let's get aero. Quick reminder that these sessions are interactive, so if you've got any questions at any point, you can always hit me. So for those guys on Zoom, just unmute yourself and ask away, or you can use the Zoom chat, or you can use the chat function in RGT, or if you're watching the live stream, you can comment on the live stream, and any comments will come to me. Okay, obviously right now probably less inclined to want to ask questions, you're just focusing. Keep it steady. Coming up to the last 2.5 minutes of this 7-minute effort before we lift it. So look how we're getting on as a group. Okay, towards the back. It's all pretty strung out. We have got the rubber banding effect on, so that will keep people largely together. So don't worry too much if you're towards the back. Approaching the last 90 seconds, keeping that leg speed nice and high, staying relaxed in the upper body, remember. Okay, approaching the final minute of this tempo slash sweet spot effort, and then we're going to kick up to 105% of FTP. Okay, so remember, whole purpose of the session is, can you lift that effort without kind of having to really kind of kick? Can you build into it? Can you get there without having to slam into that big heavy gear? Okay, so just remember that. First, we're going to start by lifting our cadence, see where that will get us in terms of meeting that new power target. And then once we've exhausted that, then we can drop into a heavier gear. Okay, so just imagine somebody's about to go off the front and you know them, you know, they're way too far from the finish, they'll never sustain this. We can reel them in. Let's leave them out there hanging. Let's let them exhaust themselves. Okay, so just imagine that context. Okay, here we go. Okay, so let's start by lifting our cadence. Come on, let's see if we can get anywhere near the power target. Obviously my erg mode is on, so it's not illustrative of what you're going through. Let's start by lifting that power. Don't want to be bouncing up and down on the saddle, but we want to have a nice high leg speed. Will that get us some of the way? If you're still quite off the power target, then slip into a heavier gear, but just build steadily, guys. We don't have to be on the power target straight away. We can build up to it. Okay? Often something that gets lost with kind of structured training like this, our desperation for everything, for the whole session to go green. We kind of accelerate too hard out the saddle, really pump it on, which obviously has its place in a lot of racing, but also often doesn't. It's not how we do it. So don't be afraid to build into an interval. We're at the end of the first minute, so we should be pretty much there now. Just 3 minutes at 105% of FTP. This should feel like a 8.5, 9 out of 10 effort. Probably I'd say 8.5. We're just creeped over that functional threshold power. So it should be a hard effort now. Even again. Nearly halfway through already. Stay strong, stay with it, nice high leg speed. Want to be well above 90, close to 100 RPM now. Okay, not too far from the end of the interval now. .90 seconds then, last little nudge. Still 105% of FTP, still nice and steady, managing our own power. We're out of erg mode. Don't stress too much about fluctuation. Just do your best. It is a skill. hitting a consistent power. It's something you have to develop over time. So don't worry if you're finding it hard. Just do your best. Into the final minute, we're nearly there, guys. Stay strong. It's in the last 30. To go, you're near there, you're near there. Final 10. Last couple of seconds. And relax, down to some pure recovery, about 40% of it, 45% of FTP, I think. Okay, here for 3 minutes, pure chill time. Just relax, guys, well done. So that's the first round down. Okay, so you know what it's all about this session now. You know what you need to do to get through it. Don't stress if you found that first effort particularly hard. Can take quite a little while for your body to get going. I know for me, I often find the first interval the hardest because you know it takes me a while to kind of get warmed up and wake up. Pretty much without fail, it takes me at least half an hour to get going. Just FYI, guys, if you get a bit of feedback on my microphone, we're in the gardeners outside mowing the lawn, so you shouldn't do because we've got noise suppression on the microphone, but just in case, I apologise. Might just get the odd buzz as they go past the window. Just at least take consolation that you've only got potentially 35 minutes of hearing it. We generally have to listen to it for the entire day. So it does feel like torture sometimes. Anyway, first world problems. Right, so just about a minute, just under a minute and a half, cruising, just chilling, getting the fluids back on board, generally relaxing, but keeping the legs turning over, so upwards of 80 RPM. That will just help you kind of flush out some of the lactate a little bit easier, a little bit quicker. And then we're going to get into round 2. So remember the purpose, okay? So it's about staying calm and relaxed, but riding strong in the first 7 minutes, and then the 4 minutes where we lift it, we want to build into that. We don't want to get there immediately. Resist the urge to have to get the block to go green. I can't remember what the criteria is for it to go green. I think it's within 10-15% of the average power target. Don't worry about it, guys. Okay, it's all a bit of a learning process, as is kind of learning to produce power consistently. We're out of erg mode, and one of the challenges of the session is kind of keeping your power constant and smooth and consistent. It is challenging, and as I said, it's a skill, and particularly if you're a time trialer, you want something you really want to nail. Okay, so 10 seconds, and then we're going back up to that tempo sweet spot effort. Here we go. So back up to that sort of 6-7 out of 10 effort. Cadence wise, want to be back up to around 90 RPM, and then once we're up to power, we relax. Okay, draw the shoulders away from the ears, soften the elbows, nice high cadence, and just generally sort of tap it along. And again, time trialists and triathletes, let's get aero as soon as we can. Okay, so what I'm saying really is being able to produce power consistently and smoothly is a challenge. It is a skill in itself. Okay, and it's something you can get better at. But that's where erg mode can be counterproductive, because every single session you're every single structured workout you're using erg mode, you become too reliant on it, and you forget what it's like to produce those efforts kind of without the crutch. Okay, so I really encourage you to kind of switch up your sessions, do some with erg mode on, some with it off. Okay, you are developing different skills, ability to pace by feel, which again you can lose just by sitting in erg mode all the time. So really you should be able to hit, you know, your FTP just by, if I was to say now, right, I want you at FTP, you should be able to do that instinctively. Okay, again, it's another skill that can fade in time if you are too reliant on erg mode. And that is important because if you do any form of racing, if you have no feel for kind of where your effort should sit, or if you have no feel for what it's like to be at your aerobic threshold naturally without erg mode, yeah, you can come a cropper. You just end up working too hard for too long. Okay, again, there's that article on our website. Go to the training resources section, all that free stuff, to erg or not to erg, explains what erg mode is, how to use it, when it's appropriate and when it's not. Okay, so enough of that, let's relax, let's tick this sector off as we go. So we've got a minute until we're halfway. Okay, so let's keep ticking it down, nice and smooth, nice and steady, aero if you need to, and keep the fluids coming on board as well. Okay, so there should still be an effort during which you can drink relatively easily. It's important that you keep the fluids coming on board over the course of a session. You're not just taking big gulps during the recovery, because if you're doing that, you're just going to get a big wodge or big load of water or fluids sitting in your stomach, and then when you go back up to a high power, that's going to feel very uncomfortable. So just keep taking sips, keep the fluids coming on board. I won't go into kind of osmosis and all that sort of malarkey about drinking plain water or not, but just also that is a factor. If you're drinking a big gulp of plain water, it's going to take a while to get across your GI tract. So it's little sips. Okay, we're well over halfway now through this tempo / sweet spot sector. Just over 3 minutes until we crank it up a notch. So riding steady. Okay, well done, guys. Approaching the 2.5 minutes to go mark on this sector. You know the drill now. Keeping that leg speed nice and high, around 90 RPM or above. Doing your best to hit the power target whilst out of erg mode. And then also getting aero if you can. Yeah, finding this tough, just think about what you're getting from this session. 69 TSS is a big old training stimulus. So these sessions are starting to really kind of hopefully push you a little bit, challenge you. Just think about getting through this session and how that's going to benefit you. Steady state work like this is really beneficial, helping you to lift that aerobic threshold and hold a higher power for longer. Okay, so just think about all those benefits. See if you're finding it tough. It's going to be worth it, okay? Equally though, if you really are struggling, don't forget, you can just take it down a notch. Have a look at where your heart rate is. Is it in that kind of zone 3 area, top of zone 3, as it should be. If you're kind of above your threshold heart rate now, you're working too hard, okay? So I want to make sure we're triggering the right energy systems. We should be largely aerobic right now. Still utilizing greater proportion of fat for energy, and then as we crank up to 105%, that will switch and we'll start to use more and more glucose for energy. It's much quicker to metabolize and use, and potentially switching on our anaerobic energy systems a bit more. Don't worry if any of that is above over your head. We have done plenty of sessions on the training zones and the energy systems. Just head to our website and you can find them in the cycle seminars section. Okay, last 10. Right, let's get ready to build steadily, remember. We're not just slamming on the pedals, slamming on the power. We're going to build into it. Ready? Okay, let's lift the cadence, so stay within the same gear. Lift the cadence, see how far we can get with that. And then only once we're kind of really starting to spin up and potentially starting to bounce, then we slip in that gear. That slightly heavier gear. Don't let it drag your cadence down too much though. Make sure you keep it above 95 RPM. And then once you're up to power, settle into it, relax in the upper body, and we're just going to drill this home, okay? That's the first 30. Okay, coming up towards the end of the first minute, so we should be up to power now. Cadence above 95 RPM, and just starting to drive this home. Just one set of intervals after this, okay? So get through this, you're 2/3 of the way through, okay? So keep it going. Keep drinking, remember, little sips. Approaching the halfway point of this supra-threshold sector, 105% of FTP. Here we are then. 2 minutes, just doing our best to keep the power as consistent as possible. Having a higher cadence will assist with that. Going back to the less power per pedal stroke chat, with a nice high cadence, it will just allow you to try and, it will just mitigate some of that big kind of spiking in your power. Okay. Into the final 90 seconds. You're close, guys, keep it going. Right, last 60 seconds coming up. You're so close now, guys. Don't give up. Don't slow down. Keep the leg speed where it needs to be. Keep the power where it needs to be. Last 60 seconds. Then you've got some lovely pure recovery. Nearly there, nearly there. 30 seconds then. Final 10 seconds, come on guys, so close now. Keep it perfect all the way to the end. 2 and 1. And relax. Down to about 45% of FTP. Just chilling, relaxing, well done. Okay, you can get some more of the fluids on board, don't go too crazy, remember. Just sipping. So that's round 2 done. Just one more round and then you're done, guys. Okay, so just relax. So it's this final interval where you might find that you're starting to have to dig really deep. It is 69 TSS this session, it is a beast. Okay, so this is where those positive kind of messages in your brain that we always talk about does help. Just switching the messaging in your head away from bloody hell, this is hard, or my legs are killing me, I don't know if I can do this. Switching that message to you're gonna do this. Keep the power on, can't push it. Saying whatever you need to, as long as it has a positive kind of element to it. Honestly, guys, just doing that, it makes such a big difference to how the interval goes. I promise you. Absence of negativity can really kind of spur you on and get you going. So try it as we get into that kind of 4-minute supra-threshold effort. Start hitting yourself with those positive messages. Just make sure there's a voice going against the one that's saying, this is hard, I need to stop. Okay, and that's your task for the final one, final round. And now though, just chilling, recovering, spinning up about 80 RPM and above, making sure we're pedaling efficiently so that we can flush out some of the waste products in our muscles and get ready for round 2 in 60 seconds. Okay, coming up on 30 seconds to go. So let's just start getting focused again. One final blast, one final set of intervals. 7 minutes, 85%, 4 minutes at 105. Okay, it's the final round of the session. The final effort, guys, okay? So let's do this. Let's get ourselves pumped. Let's start that positive messaging now. You're gonna do this, guys. You're gonna smash it. Don't take any crap from your legs. Tell them what you want them to do and drive it on. Here we go, come on then, guys. Let's pick it up to 85% of FTP, getting there steadily. Cadence upwards of 90 RPM. Once you've kind of got up to power, then start to settle into it. Start to relax a little bit into an aero position if you want to. But let's just get through this final round, guys, okay? You can do it. You're gonna do it. Oh no, I think they got the strimmer now. If the sound of a 2-stroke engine doesn't get you going whilst you're doing a workout, I don't know what does. Hopefully we can get through it before they make it to our window. Okay, you did a fantastic job, guys. First minute is down. Should be up to power, should be up to cadence, so upwards of 90 RPM, upwards of, well, not upwards of, at 85% of FTP. Should still feel like a 6 or a 7 out of 10, probably more of a 7 at this point. Should be kind of still very manageable. Just stay on it, guys. Come on, you can do this. Final set of intervals of the session, and that'll be 69 TSS in the bag. Time to recover, just absorb the benefits, okay? So just keep remembering that. So remember, while you're doing this, what's happening to your body? You're stressing those muscles, you're stressing your cardiovascular system. You're asking it what you're gonna do, okay? You're asking it to super compensate, to develop, to build, to get stronger. That's what you're doing right now, okay? So just remember what you're here for. Just get fitter. Sessions like this are absolutely fantastic. Those hard, steady state efforts where there's a big mental component as well, where you have to dig deep just to kind of keep you on the same level. They're fantastic for taking you to the next level. Because ultimately you kind of just get mentally tougher as well. Just don't underestimate how important that is. Approaching halfway through this tempo sweet spot sector. Okay, there we are, up to halfway. So, quick little reminder where we should be at. We should be upwards of 90 RPM on the cadence, 85% of FTP, or thereabouts, keeping the power as smooth as possible, and then relaxing and into the aero position. So even when you're in the aero position, guys, you can relax. It's just about drawing those shoulders away from the ears. Okay, if you're on the TT bars, you want to get away from being in this position and just relax the shoulders, pull them away from your ears. Take the tension out of your neck. If you ever get a headache riding on a TT bike, often, well, it might be because you need contact lenses or something, or glasses. It might also be because you're in a shrugged position like this, with your shoulder pinned against your ears. Just puts all the tension through your neck, your facial muscles, and it can cause a headache if held for too long. It can also cause your neck to go. So if you wake up, my TT position used to be awful, and wake up the next day and my neck would just explode. Building up lower traps and getting into a more relaxed position can help in a big way. Okay, so just do your best to keep holding aero position. Coming up to 2 minutes to go, and then it's the big final push. You can do this, guys. You're so close now. It's got about 6 minutes of hard work, and then you're done for the day. Okay, 90 seconds. Keep it steady. Keep the power smooth. You've got swigs of water still. And get ready, guys. Come into the final 60 seconds at the sweet spot tempo effort. And the last push. Just get yourself focused, get yourself ready to do battle. Okay, we want to finish off with absolute perfection. So we're going to build into this final 4-minute effort. Okay, just picking up the leg speed, then hitting the bigger gear if we need to. But either way, guys, let's finish off strong, okay? Let's not get suckered into a big heavy gear, grinding our way through it, crawling to the end. Let's finish off powerful, let's finish off with good form and showing this workout who's boss. Okay? It's always kind of towards the end of a session where all the little efficiencies really matter. Okay? It's harder to do it then, but they do help. Last 2 seconds. Get ready to build. 3, 2, 1. Okay, lift the cadence. Let's build into it. See where you can get to before you have to drop into a heavy gear, if you do it all. Right, big last push now. 4 minutes of hard work. 105% of FTP. Cadence-wise, well above 90 RPM. Closer to 100. Really just drilling our way through this. Not slowing. No second thoughts about, oh, am I doing this right? We're just finishing it off, okay, guys? Don't hesitate for a moment. Stay focused. Let's do this. Hey, good. Keep it going. You're not too far from being halfway through. "25 seconds in, you're halfway." Okay, and then you're so close to the finish line. There's no question of giving up, okay, or slowing down. Here we go then. Last 2 minutes on our aerobic threshold, on our aerobic limit, just driving it to the finish line. This is the type of effort the name of this series is about. Taking you to that limit, holding you there. "90 seconds, big last push. Okay, 60 seconds, we're into the end game now. Last little nudge with 40 seconds to go. Keep it steady, keep it where it needs to be. Keep that leg speed high, don't let it drop. It's not over yet. You've got just 30 seconds left. "20. Come on, guys, all the way to the end. Push it. "10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Good. Okay, we've got a really nice long cool down now. 6 minutes in total. Really recommend taking all of it. Okay, a cool down is so important. Helps you flush out some of the crap that accumulates in your muscles. But guys, really well done. That's a tough old set, both physically and psychologically. Just kind of dry, keeping yourself going, particularly on that final one. Lifting for the final time is hard. So really well done. Hopefully you feel great after that. Keep the fluids, get the fluids back on board, rehydrate. Just remember to have a nice high protein meal of some description after this, just to repair some of that muscle damage, whilst after a session your body is in it has a kind of elevated muscle protein synthesis response. Okay, basically means that if you eat protein immediately after your session within like an hour or 30 minutes, it means that you will kind of maximize your body's kind of recovery response. It's perhaps the easiest way of thinking of it. Okay, so make sure you get that on board, and also remember there are stretch routines in the training resources section on our website. Did I say training routines? I meant stretch routines. Hopefully I said stretch routines. That's what I meant. Stretch routines. Okay, really important to keep stretching after every session. Just helps you get to the next one. Well, firstly, it helps avoid injury, but also just helps you get to the next session feeling a bit better and more motivated. Or if you flip it around, if you don't stretch, you get to kind of time to train again and you're still aching and stiff and just generally not feeling good, then yeah, chances are you might sack off that session, when with just about 10 minutes or so of stretching after a set could have made all the difference. Okay, so it's got about 50 seconds of this initial recovery sector and then we're into the cool down proper, but just keep on rolling through. Always really good to have a moment of calm after a hard set. Avoid rushing around, getting food or getting ready for work. Just having a moment of calm where you just give yourself a moment before the chaos begins again. Well done, guys. So we'll have a little look at the next session, shall we? Whilst we've got a bit of time. So next session, let's get rid of that. Where is it? There we go. Okay, so the next session we've got an absolute cracker, an absolute belter. So we've got some threshold with VO2 max step up. So it's similar to this session in a sense, but we're just basically cranking it up. Shortening the intervals, you'll be glad to hear. So you've got 4-minute efforts at 100% of FTP, then kicking up to 3 minutes at 115% of FTP. So it's higher intensity, shorter duration intervals, but we're really kind of nailing down that aerobic threshold, kicking up to a VO2 max type level and just really kind of hammering that FTP. Okay, so that'll be session 7. That'll be a big one. Really good fun, that session actually. Well, I guess I use that term kind of loosely. Have to have a certain personality traits to find that sort of session fun, but it'll be good. Really good session. That'll be at 71 TSS, so a little crank up from this session, 2 notches, 2 TSS lift. But yeah, really big set that. That'll be another big old training effect. So guys, 2 minutes, just spinning up, getting the fluids on board and relaxing. Hopefully, in this, to a certain extent, you enjoyed that session. Not just stabbing a voodoo doll of me or something. Hopefully by the end of this series, if you complete all of them, or at least the vast majority of this series, you should be ready for an FTP test, assuming you're balancing these high intensity sessions with some good high quality but low intensity mileage. You've always got to balance that out. The high intensity stuff with plenty of low intensity stuff, usually at a ratio of about 80% low intensity, 20% high intensity. So if you've got 10 hours of training a week, 8 of those hours cumulatively at least should be low intensity, sort of zone 2 training, and then 2 of those hours you'd spend kind of high intensity threshold type work and above. How that you blend that training is, you know, a million different ways of doing it, but just kind of as a loose general rule, you do want to be balancing out this high intensity training with plenty of low intensity endurance training, teaching your body to metabolize fat for energy. And again, we've got a training article on this in the resources area. It's called I think it's do you really know your FTP or something like that. And it just talks about what goes into your FTP. You've got a strength element that we're working on today, and then you've got the endurance element which you're working on the rest of the time, hopefully. Okay, so dig out that article. I think you might find it helpful just in terms of kind of your attitude towards training. But otherwise, guys, that is your set. That is your session. 69 TSS in the bag. Really well done. That's a good one, that. If anyone's got any questions, I'll stick around. Otherwise, guys, as I say, go get high protein meal on, get your stretches done, rehydrate, and recover. But really well done, everyone. Let's have a little check of the chat, see if anything came in. I wasn't looking. Cool. Okay, guys. Well, I'll dive off there, but really well done. Hope you had a great session. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you for the next one with those threshold to VO2 step ups. Should be a good one. Take care, everyone.